So, yesterday was the 30th of November, and on that day in 1914, George Hartree was born. No one knows that name because he later changed it to Charles Hawtrey and became an actor and famously starred, along with many other films, in many, I think 23 of the Carry On films made in Britain on a budget. All the actors got paid very little, but a whole cast, a good ensemble cast who made, really by today's standards, were quite terrible comedies. Misogynistic, racist, you name it, they had it. And corny as well, cheesy comedy. But I grew up with that stuff and absolutely loved it. They were made in the 60s and 70s, and really they were terrific. And Charles Hawtrey, as one of those actors, really, everyone enjoyed seeing him. He was this flamboyantly out gay guy with skinny with round glasses, and we all liked him. He played Seneca in Carry On Cleo, one of my son's favourites, and Carry On Cowboy. He played actually a Native American Indian chief. An example, and no one could look further from such a person. We thought it was funny at the time. In retrospect, not so much, but nonetheless, we've really enjoyed those Carry On Cowboy. And who can forget Jim Dale in that as Marshall Peanut? We all love those. I'm really pleased that my son likes them too. But anyway, I thought that would be a good thing to mark with the cocktail today. And in the process of figuring out the right drink, and by the way, this really is the right drink, I found out much more about Charles Hawtrey, and it seemed really tough. There he was, this flamboyantly out gay guy in a world that did not allow that at all. He got paid almost nothing, and nor did anyone, for the Carry On movies. And he eventually sort of he left them. He threw a fit and left. He was a chain smoker, heavy drinker. When he played Seneca in Carry On Cleo, he was drunk throughout all of that. He was drunk in many of the films, and eventually he was dropped because of that. And he kind of came to a bitter, sad end. In a hospital, they were going to amputate his legs because the smoking had caused some disease in his legs. And he said, no, I want to die with my boots on. And he died 3 days later. 9 people turned up to his funeral. So actually it's a bit of a sad story, but I'm choosing to remember the oh, hello, he would say, catch line. And in fact, apparently at pantomimes, after he'd finished with the Carry On movies, that's all he needed to say, and he'd be drunk and forget his lines the rest of the time, but people loved it. So this is a good cocktail, and given his sort of real flamboyant nature in the films as well, the Hanky Panky that we're going to make seems aptly named, but it's also the right cocktail for another reason, and that is because of the story behind the Hanky Panky's name. It was devised by Ada Coleman at the American bar in the Savoy Hotel in the 1930s, and it was made for the actor, a different actor, also known as Charles Hawtrey, Sir Charles Hawtrey. And apparently he was visiting the Savoy bar, and he would ask for he'd be tired and he needed someone with a bit of punch, and so Ada Coleman, and she served other famous people, not including Mark Twain, for example, but she came up with this cocktail, and she served it to him, and he turns around and he says, "By Jove, that is the real Hanky Panky." And it didn't have a name at that point, but after then, it really did. It's a super easy drink to make. There are only 3 ingredients in it. It is a gin drink. I am using this American Aviation gin, given it was made in the American bar in the Savoy. You could use any gin. London dry gin is probably absolutely perfect. And this calls for 1.5 ounces of that. All of these recipes came in Harry Craddock's Savoy cocktail book, of course. That's one of the Bibles of bartending and cocktail making. Second ingredient is Italian vermouth. That is a sweet red vermouth. And it's, again, like the gin, another 1.5 ounces of that. And then the third ingredient is the thing, I suppose, that gives it the hanky pankiness of this cocktail. It is Fernet Branca, a bitter, really complex, herbally Amaro from Italy. And the recipe in the book, as originally written in the Harry Craddock book, is for 2 dashes. you know, you see me do dashes of bitters, and a dash is kind of like that, but that's with a tiny little stopper. This has got a great big hole in the end. And I'm going to say it's approximately 1/4 of a bar spoon. So, you know, if you're going to go in mils, probably like, I don't know, 12.5 mils in an ounce, maybe 1/12 of an ounce. Not very much in any case, because this is potent stuff like absinthe is. It really will leave a mark. And that looks about 1/4 of a spoon. We just stir this stuff up. And, you know, this is going to be a drink taking us back almost 100 years. And of course, Charles Hawtrey was always playing these historical figures. I mentioned Seneca already, but he was always ineffably himself. And so there he'd be with these little round glasses, this skinny schoolboy looking face, even as he was, you know, outrageously camp in all these movies, and saying, "Ooh, hello." And I can't do the voice very well, but you get what I mean. And so all told, the Hanky Panky really has to be the correct cocktail to celebrate his birth and his contribution to British comedy. Okay, we just pour this into our chilled cocktail glass. Like so. And then the only garnish is a twist of orange. I've heard of some people putting a little splash of orange juice into it to balance out the drink a little bit. I'm not going to do that, but I will make sure that I, you know, espresso out a little bit of the oil from the twist of orange. Okay, let's see what we've got. By Jove, that is the real Hanky Panky. Cheers.